The massive boycott against Donald Trump's State of the Union is exploding in Donald Trump's face. Trump and MAGA and corporate news are all attacking the MeidasTouch network since we are leading the boycott against Donald Trump and his despicable regime at the State of the Union. We have partnered with Move On. We are the exclusive distribution partners for an event called the People's State of the Union. Now, dozens and dozens of members of the House of Representatives and senators will be boycotting the State of the Union, fairly unprecedented in these types of numbers, and they will be attending our event at the MeidasTouch Network. We will have a stage and an area set up outside of the Capitol building. We're calling it the People's State of the Union. And last night, Democratic Senator Adam Schiff announced that he will be indeed boycotting Trump's State of the Union. And instead, Senator Schiff will be attending the MeidasTouch Network's State of the Union, the People's State of the Union, where he will be one of our featured speakers. Now, MAGA has been attacking the MeidasTouch Network. They've been attacking Senator Schiff, and they've been attacking me and my brothers personally as a result of this boycott. But it's what is just. It is what is needed right now. By the way, look how close we are to 6 million subscribers. Help us get to 6 million subscribers today by subscribing right now. Now, I want to show you what Senator Schiff said when he made the big announcement last night that he is boycotting the State of the Union and he will be speaking at the MeidasTouch Network's People's State of the Union. Let's play this clip right here of Senator Schiff.
Donald Trump is violating the law and Constitution. He is ignoring court orders. He has weaponized the Justice Department to go after his enemies. He is letting loose ICE troops in our streets that are getting people killed. I will not be attending the State of the Union. I've never missed one. I have always gone both to inaugurations and to States of the Union, but we cannot treat this as normal. This is not business as usual. I will not give him the audience he craves for the lies that he tells. I'll be outside the Capitol with MeidasTouch and Move On for the People's State of the Union, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday.
Powerful indeed. Here is a list of some of the other speakers, everybody from Senator Merkley to Markey to Senator Murphy to Senator Tina Smith, Senator Van Hollen, Congresswoman Ansari to Balint. We've got Maxwell Frost and Kassar. We've got Leger Fernandez. We've got Jim Himes, the ranking member of the Intelligence Committee, Sarah Jacobs, Jayapal. The list keeps going on and on. You can check out the list there. Speaking about Democratic Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs, she went on corporate news. She was on CNN. And she was asked by the host, Alex Michelson, why she is not going to be attending, and she will be attending the MeidasTouch Network event. Here's what she had to say. Let's play this clip.
State of the Union is Tuesday night. Some Democrats are choosing not to attend. Are you going to go?
I don't plan on attending, no.
Why is that? I mean, and isn't that kind of disrespectful to the institution of the presidency and the institution of Congress?
I mean, I think what's disrespectful to the institution of Congress is the fact that this president and this administration do not abide by congressionally passed laws and statutes, completely have zero care for or respect for the rule of law, literally are like going against court orders. That's what's disrespectful. I'm not going to sit there and listen to Donald Trump lie and try and say the economy is doing well when everyone I know in San Diego can barely get by. I'm not going to sit there and listen to him say they're going after criminals when we know the majority of people they're going after have no criminal record and they're killing U.S. citizens without any accountability.
Although we'll see what happens in terms of the killing of the citizens, and we'll see on that front.
Then we heard from Senator Ruben Gallego about his boycott of the State of the Union. Here's what Senator Gallego said. Play this clip.
Well, I just want to tell you, so you hear from me, that I am not going to State of the Union. Look, there's more productive things I could be doing with my time than just sitting there for 2 hours and clapping on cue. Right now, this country is hurting. You know, whether it's what's happening in Minnesota, whether it's our families that are just trying to make every dollar stretch longer, whether it's veterans trying to make sure that their benefits aren't being cut by this administration. There's a lot of work to be done, and it's not going to happen in that chamber for 2 hours when the president's just going to be using, that bully pulpit as a way to just, push further and further his agenda. So I'll be spending the time working for Arizona, spending time with my family, and look forward to continue really fighting to make sure that Americans have a chance at the American dream. Thanks.
And folks, it does seem that CNN was quite mad at the MeidasTouch network and their hosts. They brought on these professors from UCLA and some other guy, and they were like, we think that everybody should attend the State of the Union because this is how compromise is made and this is how people in government should interact. And why are people going to be boycotted? Because we have a fascist freaking regime. This is not a normal government by the people for the people. This is a fascist regime with Trump putting up his photos on the Justice Department building and buildings across DC, sending massed ICE and Border Patrol, Gestapo to terrorize, torture, and to kill Americans and people in this country. You got him arbitrarily imposing tariffs on the world, even when the Supreme Court rules against him, though it'll be interesting to see the Supreme Court justices there at the State of the Union. Donald Trump then says, screw you, Supreme Court. I'm going to enact more unlawful tariffs after you strike down my prior unlawful tariffs. I'm going to enact the United States Trade Act of 1974, Section 122, which doesn't apply, to impose 15% tariffs on the entire world. Ha ha ha. And I'm going to remove the exemptions for the de minimis tariff exemption so that everybody has to pay tariffs on items $800 or less. How utterly pathetic. But anyway, I digress. CNN, corporate news, they were pissed at us, apparently. Here, play this clip.
If she's not going, there's a lot of other ones that are not. There's talk about alternative State of the Unions, like we had an alternative halftime show with Kid Rock. Is this bad for democracy?
Yeah, I don't think it's good, Alex. This is one of the constitutionally mandated things that the president has to do. He has to report on the State of the Union to the Congress. And it doesn't say it has to be a speech in the chamber. It used to be a letter delivered by, Pony Express, but it has to happen. And I think if you are a member of that chamber, it is part of your job to hear that report. And I do think, people have talked a lot about, is there still appetite for, when they go low, we go high, or are we over that? You're never over doing your job, doing it well, and trying hard to find compromise and solve people's problems. So I would say show up.
Isn't that the job, to show up and to try to solve problems? And by the way, there are some things that both sides agree on. I mean, last year, I remember there was a moment when the kid, the Secret Service agent kid who has, brain cancer, and they're cheering for him, and the Democrats didn't cheer for him. Like, what a sad moment that we can't even cheer for that. I don't know. I feel like it's a bad thing. Both parties are guilty of that, but it seems like a sad moment. And if we got to find some moments to come together, we're never going to be able to tackle our problems if we don't. All right, enough of my ranting. Thank you both for being here and providing better insight than me on that. Great to see you. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Alex.
Coming up,
but I like the reporting by Scott MacFarlane, one of the few good reporters, great reporters actually, left on CBS. Here's how he describes the boycott that is picking up momentum as the MeidasTouch People's State of the Union is where everybody, all the Democratic leaders are going to be at. And speaking again, this is unprecedented, and this is thanks to you. Thanks so much for helping build the MeidasTouch Network platform like this. And again, make sure you subscribe. Here's what Scott MacFarlane had to say. Play this clip.
We made it to the weekend, but here in Washington, next week's going to be one of those predictably big weeks. It is State of the Union week on Tuesday night. We have seen Trump give State of the Union addresses before. We have heard the president do this before, but this time it could look differently. And I think that's part of what the anticipation is for Tuesday at 9 p.m. What does it look like when there are empty seats dotting the House chamber on the floor? Because there's a rising number of Democrats who say they are about done with this and not going to the speech. And it's growing in number. April McLean Delaney of Maryland issued a statement last week saying she's not going. Ron Wyden, the senator from Oregon, said he's going to instead have a virtual town hall Tuesday with his fellow Oregon senator, Jeff Merkley, to, quote, hear the actual State of the Union from people in Oregon. Ruben Gallego of Arizona issued a statement saying this administration continues to disregard the rule of law and Constitution. Quote, I have more productive ways to spend 2 hours than listening to more lies. I'll pass. Who will be in the chamber on the upper level? Well, it's somewhat traditional. You'll have guests of the members of Congress. You'll have a number of supporters of the president, people he wants to call out and call on, but also going to have some of the survivors or survivors' families of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. They're going to be there, invited by Democratic members of Congress as perhaps they try to use their visual presence as leverage to continue to press the Department of Justice to release the millions of pages of files that have not been released, to not redact so much or redact improperly. Their visual presence will be important. That will look different than past years. Survivors in the upper seats, empty seats down low. See how the president responds when there are empty chairs to hear him give his long-anticipated address.
You know who is also super pissed at us? You always see him on Fox right now. Stephen A. Smith, the sports broadcaster guy, Stephen A. Smith. When Stephen A. Smith just starts like saying, I'm really angry. How childish are you being? You better show up. How are you going to say you're better than MAGA if you don't show up to the State of the Union? All right, Stephen A. Smith, what the hell are you talking about? I'm just not going to aid and abet a fascist regime. It's pretty clear. These are not normal freaking times, okay? You want to hang out, Stephen A. Smith, with the crew of people who are covering up a pedo ring, a child sex trafficking ring? You have Donald Trump out there covering up the Epstein files. You've got Donald Trump out there threatening to make Canada the 51st state, threatening our NATO allies, screwing over Ukraine, making Vladimir Putin a freaking ally, puts Putin's photo up in the Oval Office. You expect this to be business as usual? Sorry, it ain't. It ain't. The MeidasTouch Network, we're here. We've arrived and we're doing things differently right now. You understand? This is how it's going to be from now on. It's not childish. It's standing on values. It's standing on principle. It's standing up for democracy, damn it. That's what this is about. But anyway, play the clip of Stephen A. Smith yelling at us. It's okay when MAGA yells at us. Here, play this clip.
The president of the United States is going to give his State of the Union address, and the Democrats got other plans. So some are talking about walking out in the middle of his speech. Others are talking about boycotting it altogether and essentially finding something else to do. I'm here to tell you that neither is acceptable. Neither should be acceptable. At some point in time, ladies and gentlemen, there's got to be an adult in the room. If you're going to act as juvenile, as petulant, as petty as you accuse the president of the United States to be, how are you ever going to hold a high moral ground, at least high enough to judge him accordingly? If people on the right can turn and look at you and say, you're no better, you act no better, where's it going to get you? See, these are the kind of things that end up getting people like myself and others in the news because we're talking about getting things done.
Then I recently interviewed California Governor Gavin Newsom, and here's what he had to say about the State of the Union. Let me play this clip right here for you.
And I think there's going to be a hell of a State of the Union. And I imagine that's going to mean perhaps more forays overseas. Watch what happens, obviously, in Iran. But this weakness is on display. World leaders have finally figured it out, to your point about Munich, COP, and what happened in Davos. And the American people are seeing it on full display. When you stand up to this guy, he backs down. His great strength, if there's any, is figuring out your weakness and exploiting it. But he does not do well when people assert themselves and push back. Again, that's what the people of Minneapolis have done. And that's what's happening across this country. And that's the pathway back. Conviction, strength, clarity, purpose. Call this guy out.
It's interesting as I reflect, though, on the State of the Union, and I think about Donald Trump, this demented, broken, weak, pathetic pedoprotector sicko in the Oval Office. You know, this terrorist, this criminal, this felon, this sexual abuser in the Oval Office, Epstein's best friend. You know, when I think about it, by the way, he's been found civilly liable for sexual assault. Okay. He's separately been found in a criminal case to be a felon. Multiple felony counts, 34 felony counts. Okay, so let's stop acting like this is some normal stuff. You want to know how other countries deal with it? In South Korea, they throw people like that in jail for the rest of their lives. President Yoon in jail for the rest of his life. In Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro in jail for 27 years. That's what should have happened to Donald Trump if our Supreme Court and our justice system here actually worked in the United States. But I digress. You want to reflect on normal states of the union? What should actually be going down? Okay, let's do that actually, because remember when MAGA was having a fit when former President Biden gave his State of the Union back in March 2024? And he said that the wealthiest Americans shouldn't pay a lower tax rate than firefighters and teachers. And everybody was like, oh my God, can you believe what Biden's saying that we want to tax rich people more? Yeah, we do. We do want to do that, okay? And by the way, to all the firefighters and teachers and working class Americans who voted against Biden and Kamala and supported the guy who's just screwed you over royally, the fraud, the bankrupter, the lifelong con artist. Hey, by the way, here's what former President Biden said during his State of the Union. I think it's worth reflecting on it, right? Here, play this clip.
You know, there are 1,000 billionaires in America. You know what the average federal tax is for those billionaires? No. They're making great sacrifices, 8.2%. That's far less than the vast majority of Americans pay. No billionaire should pay a lower federal tax rate than a teacher, a sanitation worker, or a nurse. I propose a minimum tax for billionaires of 25%, just 25%. You know what that would raise? That would raise $500 billion over the next 10 years. And imagine what that could do for America. Imagine a future with affordable child care. Millions of families can get they need to go to work to help grow the economy. Imagine a future with paid leave, because no one should have to choose between working and taking care of their sick family member. Imagine the future of home care and elder care, and people living with disabilities so they can stay in their homes and family caregivers can finally get the pay they deserve.
Or how about when former President Biden said, the world is watching, our adversaries are watching, our allies are watching, we need to stand up for Ukraine. Here, play this clip right here.
I say this to Congress, we have to stand up to Putin. Send me a bipartisan national security bill. History is literally watching. History is watching. If the United States walks away, it will put Ukraine at risk. Europe is at risk. The free world will be at risk, emboldening others to do what they wish to do us harm. My message to President Putin, who I've known for a long time, is simple. We will not walk away. We will not bow down. I will not bow down.
I remember when he backed the MAGA Republicans into a corner and said to them and called them out for them wanting to get rid of Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. Remember that moment? Here, play this clip.
On the other side of the aisle, I want to put Social Security on the chopping block. If anyone here tries to cut Social Security or Medicare or raise the retirement age, I will stop you. The working people who built this country pay more into Social Security than millionaires and billionaires do. It's not fair. Two ways to go. Republicans can cut Social Security and give more tax breaks to the wealthy. That's the proposal. Oh no, you guys don't want another $2 trillion tax cut? I kind of thought that's what your plan was. Well, that's good to hear.
And just contrast this moment right here. Remember when I'll go a year even before that. I'll go to 2023. Remember when Kevin McCarthy became the Speaker of the House and former President Biden greeted Kevin McCarthy with civility, with normalcy. This is the type of State of the Union that makes sense to attend because this is the way government should function. Here, play this clip.
Members of the cabinet, leaders of our military, Chief Justice, Associate Justice, and retired Justice of the Supreme Court, and to you, my fellow Americans. I start tonight by congratulating the 118th Congress and the new Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. Speaker, I don't want to ruin your reputation, but I look forward to working with you.
But you can contrast that to what Donald Trump said on Friday and the types of things we'll undoubtedly hear at the State of the Union, where he called Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries low IQ. And then the reporter goes, why don't you just work with Congress? If you want to enact tariffs, you control all branches of government. So why don't you just work with Congress? Remember what Donald Trump said? That's what I mean. He said, I don't have to. Okay, so if he doesn't have to work with Congress, which is his constitutional duty, then why should Congress have to show up and hear this wannabe emperor rail about this imperial presidency where, in my opinion, he's responsible for hundreds of thousands of deaths, if not millions of deaths already, based on what he's done to USAID and based on his policies here in the United States. So you heard what he said there, right? Let's play that one.
Several of Republicans in Congress have supported this decision by the Supreme Court. And Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, has called you a wannabe king. Why wouldn't
him a low IQ?
But why wouldn't
he doesn't even know? And I watched him the other day interviewed. The guy doesn't even know what a tariff is.
But there's been bipartisan criticism.
No, not bipartisan.
Of the tariffs.
Excuse me.
There's several Republicans
people
have said that.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't you just work with Congress to come up with a plan?
I don't have to
push tariffs.
I have the right to do tariffs, and I've always had the right to do tariffs, and it's all been approved by Congress. So there's no reason to do it. All we're doing is we're going through a little bit more complicated process. Not complicated very much, but a little more complicated than what we had. We'll be able to take in tariffs, more tariffs. And the Congress people and the Congress,
the Canadian tariffs last week. There's been votes in the Senate against it.
Yeah, because we lost 2 Republicans or 3 Republicans because they're not good Republicans.
And then he said, I want to be a good boy. I mean, this guy's a demented. I want to be a good boy. This is what he said on Friday, playing this clip.
I was very modest in my ask of other countries and businesses because I wanted to do, and it's very important, I wanted to be very well behaved because I wanted to do anything. I didn't want to do anything that would affect the decision of the court because I understand the court. I understand how they are very easily swayed. I want to be a good boy.
Then he talks about being kissed so badly. He likes to be kissed. He didn't want to be kissed by men. Or I don't even know what the hell is this guy freaking talking about. Here, play this clip.
Around the clock, almost 7 days a week. He said, sir, I want to kiss you so badly. And I said, no, thank you. But you know what? He just.
And his economic message right now, whereas in the 2024 campaign, it was we will make prices lower on day one. Everything will be better. And now that we're in year 2 and things are much worse, inflation once again surging. We saw the PCE readout on Friday, GDP a pathetic 1.4%, jobs recession right now, ripping away healthcare from people with all those promises, not just broken. His promises were fraud. Like he did the exact opposite of the things he said he was going to do. So now his economic messages next year, it's 2027's our year. Just wait until 2027. This is what Ponzi schemers do, right? When the money's due, the Ponzi schemers, give me a year, give me another year, just give me one more year, while they try to rob Peter to pay Paul, or in this case, when Donald Trump tries to further rob the American people and then give himself $10 billion to Qatari bank accounts for his peace board. You know that, right? That as part of his peace board, Donald Trump says the United States is sending his board of peace $10 billion, which is a bank account that he controls. So he's taking $10 billion of our taxpayer money and he's putting it in a bank account, probably located with Qatar or some other unaccountable bank account. Our $10 billion goes to him. Like, do you realize that that's already happened? The same way he's taking the oil money from Delcy Rodriguez in Venezuela, and he has a Qatari bank account. And so the oil money that he's stealing is being sold to his oligarch friends. And then he's taking the cash and he's putting it in a bank account in Qatar. We get that, right? Like, that's what he's doing. Like, it's an undisputed fact with Venezuela. That's what he's doing. Anyway, here, play this clip of him.
That's because of tariffs. And we're going to keep it going the same way. And you're going to start to see the results in a year from now when all those factories start that are under construction right now. You see all the construction numbers are so good.
Well, there you have it, folks. The boycott is strong. Let's keep the boycott going. I know we have even bigger announcements, more big announcements, we'll just say, coming on Monday. We'll have some big announcements about other people, I think, who will be joining this boycott. It's going to keep on growing and growing, y'all. Stay tuned. Keep the pressure up. We got this.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.